I'm here to talk about my experience as the Chapter 7 bankruptcy trustee for Michael Mastro. Mr. Mastro and his wife were last known to reside in Annecy, France. Mr. Mastro was filed into an involuntary bankruptcy proceeding on July 10, 2009. At the bottom here, cut to the chase, he says he's got $126 million in equity. As I indicated, 7 months and 10 days after the effective date of this financial statement, 3 local banks claimed they were owed $10 million unsecured and he wasn't paying his debts in the ordinary course. Something's wrong here. Mr. Mastro initially contested the filing, and then a few weeks later, August 20, the same year, he filed an amended answer and said, you know, I'm broke. He agreed to come within the jurisdiction of the bankruptcy court and go through the process that he has to go through. So there was no cash flow. That's why he agreed to the Chapter 7 filing. Now, an issue near and dear to my heart is getting paid. I'm sure you're not very concerned with that yourselves. So let me explain how I get paid in a Chapter 7 proceeding. The filing fee is $299 American dollars. And I get 60 of those dollars. And you know, what I wouldn't give for a $30 million real estate sale and a commission. I also get $53,000 out of the first million in transactions that I do. Like you, I get paid on a contingent basis. So if I sell $1 million worth of assets in a bankruptcy estate, I get paid $53,000. For the next, however many million I can stack up, I get 3% of the next second million on up. But there's got to be something there to sell, and I don't get paid out of secured creditors' debt. So Mr. Mastro's got apartments that are fully liened up. I can't sell those. I'm not going to get paid out of those. Mastro's in bankruptcy. He's got some responsibilities. He's got legal obligations to perform, one of which is to prepare what we call the statement of schedules. He must file a set of paperwork with the court that lists all of his assets and lists all of his creditors. What you notice in line A, real estate, he's got the goose egg there. Part of the reason for that is if you come down to second line personal properties, of course holding is real estate and corporations and LLCs, and that's personal property. So he's listing his investment real estate there. Coming down to D, he's got secured claims. He owes his creditors $468 million. Those are the ones that are secured against the $249 million. There's a net loss there. They're not going to get paid in full if his numbers are right. He did not list in his property his wife's engagement ring. 17 carats of nearly perfect diamond. You're probably never going to see a more perfect diamond than that. And oh, by the way, she's got a 27 carat. This isn't nearly the quality of the other one. The other ring's worth more than this. I asked, how come and why for are these assets not listed in your bankruptcy schedules? And he said, oh, that's easy. We created a trust about a year ago, and we transferred all this property to the trust, so it's not my property, it's the trust property, and bankruptcy trustee, you're not going to get it, don't waste your time. And he showed me some of the documentation for the trust to convince me that I would be completely wasting my time to pursue it. And this is an exhibit attached to an assignment where he assigned the jewelry that he owned to the trust. And so, okay, very good. Thank you for the paperwork. Let's move on. Let's go on to your creditors meeting. And at the creditors meeting, it was in September '09, we started a game of cat and mouse. And so I asked Mr. Mastro at the meeting, where's the jewelry? I'm going to dazzle you with the graphics on this. He said, it's at my house. Okay? This is lap 1.5. This really is kind of an amendment to the first creditors meeting. I get a letter from his attorney. He says, oh, by the way, that list of jewelry we gave you, most of it's really gone. This is my markup, but this summarizes the letter. They said, Paragraph 3, we traded that in '05. Now, but excuse me, this was Exhibit A to your assignment to your trust in '07. 5's before. Why are we doing this? And there was no, and they said, oh, the 18-karat gold ring with, was that 9.68 carats? That was sold years ago. It's not a significant issue. So we issue the subpoena to Mr. Mastro for his jewelry, and we get a letter back, rather it's an email from Mrs. Mastro's lawyer. And it said, Mrs. Mastro presently does not have physical possession of either ring, as they are in safe storage outside of the area and will require travel to retrieve them. Mrs. Mastro will make them available for inspection, but is not in a position to do so until January. Right, okay, I get it. Mrs. Mastro, affectionately LAM, filed the declaration, and she said my engagement ring was an engagement present. Now, the reason this is important in the state of Washington is because we're a community property state. Mr. Mastro was in bankruptcy, which means that his community is in bankruptcy. Linda was not in bankruptcy, so that her separate property was not under the jurisdiction of the courts. The trial starts in the spring of 2011. Now, this is the trial over the house. And by then we'd found some, 100 gold coins here for 100 grand, another 100 grand worth of gold coins here. There was 800 grand in a bank account they forgot to tell us about, and some things like this. This is one of those kinds of things that's theoretical, but doesn't happen in real life, vacating an order of summary judgment. But in fact, that's what happened. So the rings were now in play a year after Linda thought that she had won the rings. In fact, I thought that she had won the rings. I thought that I would never see them again. So the judge issues an arrest warrant. Well, I've never seen, I don't remember ever seeing an arrest warrant coming out of a bankruptcy court. It just doesn't happen. They don't have, the judge can't punish somebody and put them in jail. The only reason he can have them put in jail is because they refuse to follow an order of his court. And nobody that I'd ever seen had been so bold as to look the judge square in the eye, or in this case, just not show up and say, we're not going to do it. I read in the paper, the Seattle Times, September 2011, that the Mastros had fled to Canada, where they had eluded the FBI. We had turned up some evidence. It seems that this 20-year-old engagement ring wasn't the original engagement ring, it was an upgrade. And it wasn't bought 20 years ago, it had been bought about 5 or 6 years before the trial. So there had been some fibbing going on. And the phone rings. And, hi, hey, did you know that the Mastros were arrested yesterday in France? I says, no, it's news to me. Why were they arrested? Oh, well, the federal government has issued a 43-count indictment against the Mastros for bankruptcy fraud. There was FBI agents in the Paris embassy, and they went down and did an investigation with the local police there in Annecy. And they found a couple of safe deposit boxes. I don't know how big they were, but they probably were, the big ones. What's really interesting is I still don't have that jewelry. So where I'm at right now is my lawyers have been paid current, but we have another task, is we're litigating with the Department of Justice over the disposition of that jewelry. The real question you all really want to know is, how do you get a brokerage deal with a bankruptcy trustee? And the real honest, straightforward, short answer is it's probably not going to happen. And the reason for that is generally you don't sell real estate, commercial real estate, as a bankruptcy trustee. In 99.99% of the times, if anybody's got any commercial real estate, they sell it before they end up in bankruptcy court if that's where they're going. I'm an attorney in Seattle and a bankruptcy trustee, and for the last 4 years I've been acting as the Chapter 7 bankruptcy trustee in the Michael R. Mastro case.
Great. And how did that go? Did you actually recover anything or get any money out of it?
Well, we're still working on it. We've paid the creditors 1%, which is $2.5 million. That's a lot more than nothing, but if you're the one receiving the money, I'm sure it's not enough. We're still looking for more money.
Good. And is Mastro back in the States yet?
No, he's not back in the States. He'd probably go to prison if he came back to the U.S. He's living in France, and the French government refuses to extradite him back here for prosecution.
They won't turn him over. They think he's too old to go to jail. It wouldn't be humane, although it's pretty humane to steal that much money, though, right?
Well, I think the decision was it would be inhumane for Mr. Mastro, an elderly individual, to look at the prospect of spending years in prison for bankruptcy crimes.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming today.
You're welcome.
All right.